This is Have Serious, where we dig into the things that keep us going habits, hobbies, hell, even bad ideas, and the hard crap that nearly breaks us. Because life doesn't pull punches, and somewhere between the chaos and the craft, the dichotomy of life teaches us a lesson. We laugh, we curse, and we keep freaking going. So pour a drink or start your marathon, and let's get into it. In this episode, we talk with a retired police captain in current upper echelon rank in the military. We approach loss and turmoil in both professions, how they parallel and differ, and why the one on your left and right is what will always get you through. Now, the audio is broken, mostly because those that know him know he could go on this topic for hours. However, we did get the best stuff condensed into one. So, enjoy.
I like the way you say. You see, yours had a dark background in life, but you shellacked yours, didn't you? What did you do? You coated your badge.
Oh yeah, I coated it so it's gold. So it's gold on the. I painted it gold on the background, and then just left this, and then put epoxy on it.
That epoxy looks good.
Right.
I think you did a badass job.
Thanks.
I like you leaving it the natural wood. You could put that silver, and it almost would look like your regular badge.
Well, I had a gold badge
I
when I
wouldn't have
retired.
did that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got gold.
Oh,
the other
yeah.
part silver, police lieutenant, and all that. But if you would have did that, the reason why I like the way you did it is you wouldn't be able to get the seal right, and it would look so this way. Cool. I think that looks cool. I like what you did.
If you want me to do yours, I'll do it. I'm just not really great with the epoxy when I got.
No, I think the epoxy looks good.
Yeah, I'll put that up on the wall here soon. Whenever I redo my background. All right. Are you ready?
I'm not going to introduce myself.
How about this? How about I've known you since I've been 18 years now? Did I meet you right after the academy or during the academy?
I probably know you close to 18 years. Shoot, I'm 61 years old, been in the military for over 40 years, been in policing probably all total over 35.
And you're in leadership roles in both of those.
My nickname's Big Mike, you know that. A lot of people know how I go by that. And I was able to be transplanted to Alabama from New York City, where I grew up. And
that's better or worse?
It's funny because you hear things about the South and you hear things about a city. And, when I grew up, a lot of people that didn't know about me, I actually tried out the School of Performing Arts, where they made the show Fame. Yeah. A lot of people didn't know that, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I thought, man, it'd probably be cool to be an actor. So I led it in sports and I led it in drama. And, one of my kids opened up my yearbook and seen the happy and sad face on the A for where I went to school. I went to aviation high school. And they were like, you in drama club? I was like, yeah. I said, we did that to play Guys and Dolls, and I was the mobster. I was Toothpick Charlie. So we laughed about it. But, I didn't realize at the time that the people that tried out for Fame were, I say Fame, if it's School of Performing Arts is the name of the school. They did the show Fame, but that came way years after I tried out for it. But that school is for instruments, for playing an instrument. You could get in for, acting and for dance. And I did, of course, the acting part. Probably I used to break dance a lot. I probably should have maybe did the dance thing, but and I played trumpet, but I didn't play worth the crap. So,
well, we're going out tonight, a bunch of us. So if you really feel like you need to bring out the break dance, and I'm totally down.
I don't want to throw a hip out, but I a lot of people didn't know that, but I grew up in a low income neighborhood, pretty much in a 6-story apartment building. So, never played the pity party for myself. Came from a broken home, but didn't know what I was going to do when I got out of high school. Stepdad raised me since I was 5 and pushed me to, stay into a technical school and get my degree. And I was probably one of the first high school graduates in my family, on my step family side and my biological side. So it's wild. And then I never thought I'd been sitting here at my age, having 2 associates, a bachelor's, 2 masters, a graduate of the highest military schools you could go to, Army War College, FBI National Academy. So my life really was blessed with being educated and surrounding myself with good friends and people like you that make me enjoy my life and my career and made me have fun over the years. A lot of my great coworkers that I worked with, both, I had 2 great career paths, and we could talk about both. I think that I was blessed that I got to be a senior leader in the police department, and I got to be a very high-ranking person in the military. In both those positions, I learned that titles and positions are temporary, but how you treat people is how you'll be remembered. A lot of people chase that rank and chase that position, but at the end of the day, people are going to remember you on how you treated them and cared about them. Uh, I just think leadership styles, they change over the years. I think we both seen some different type of leaders and we work.
Yeah.
Some people are self-serving, some people are toxic, and some of the opposite. Some will give you the shirt off their back and they'll go to the foot of the cross with you
Mhm.
if you get in trouble or if you have an issue, as long as they can trust you. But one of the things I always believed in is instilling trust in your subordinates. I think trust is a big attribute. But you got to trust your people. Well, a lot of departments don't want to allow pursuits. They don't want to trust their officers. And I think me and you have the same concept. Don't overdrive your vehicle. Know what you're doing. Don't chase somebody for no tag through a residential neighborhood at 100 miles an hour. If a double homicide was just committed, you need to chase them all the way to California.
When I first got out of the academy and I was I think I did a stint, like an FTO phase or something like that up Second North, and I think that's the first time I really met you. And then I got assigned up there again later on, and I got a few really good supervisors that remained amazing supervisors throughout my career until they retired. But you were a constant supervisor that would invest in your people. You weren't scared to be like, all right, well, if I don't know, then tell me, educate me. I'm not shy to not know the right answer to something. I'm just going to get all the information that I can and then make a decision with the information that I've got, which is huge because a lot of people I feel like get to that point where they have to always be right, and that's never the right thing in leadership. Like nobody ever knows every answer to every problem, but you were very much so like, hey, let's figure this out. Okay, cool. This is a decision. And then when it came to making a command decision, this is a decision. Cool. All right, good. Takes that off of our shoulders. We just gave the information, and then you were just like, no, now it's my decision. This is what we're gonna do. And it was a nice way to work the streets because we didn't have to worry, about stuff that wasn't in front of us on a call.
I appreciate that compliment. But a lot of you younger officers when I was there were very smart and educated. I remember you
Yeah.
came to North scratching and crawling from West because you didn't want to, cops
Yeah.
don't like change.
Yeah.
And you were really like, I didn't want to be up here. And
Okay, I didn't get that nasally. All
well,
right.
but the first year, what did you get? Officer of the Year, second shift, and you earned it. And I didn't pick that. That came from your supervisors, and I was like, look at that, your name got put on the plaque in the front lobby, and I know that made you feel good, and it would make me feel good because you get recognized for hard work and being a female in a dominant male environment. You always pulled your weight, and you never used that excuse. Well, I'm a female. You get in the mix of things, and I think your supervision style was always good. The way you treated people. I had a family member work for you that was down and out, and you brought them out of a rut because you believed in them, and you just gave them an opportunity to prove themselves. And we look down the line, and that same person that was people were trying to terminate or condemn became Officer of the Year.
I mean, rightfully so. They were always good. I just think that they never had anybody outside of family. Obviously, you invested in them, but just to say, hey, listen, you're screwing this up. I don't want you to succeed. And that was literally all it freaking took. And then they just took it and ran with it because they were good. I mean,
but you look at it, you being a supervisor, when you see somebody like that, when you're told this person's not going to make it, and you need to get rid of them, and then they become Officer of the Year, and then they get these other awards, and then they get promoted to investigator and wind up being one of the best investigators, as far as being known to do a good job and working hard and being a team player and keeping to themselves. I mean, I think that speaks volumes. And
yeah, I like the kid. He's okay.
Over the years, we've been through a lot of things too. We've lost some close friends, and people understand that. They talk about PTSD in the military and that, and I've seen that side of it in the military. Also in law enforcement.
What would you say that the difference is in that approach, the experiences in military versus law enforcement, and how you guys react to bad scenarios? Or is police completely different? Could you not even really parallel them at all?
To be honest with you, it's a lot the same. We both honor and recognize our fallen. They're both very dangerous jobs. They both hit home hard. I think in the police department, some of the losses that me and you've been through from, I think, almost 5 together, we went through.
Matters which one you're counting, but 6 if you count.
No, that's right, 6. And so that's a lot to lose. And you look at each one, and some we were closer to and some we weren't, but we still knew them and acknowledged them. And the last one killed in the line of duty. I didn't know him very well, except that he was a good guy, good applicant, but you still have a personal loss.
You were gone during that, right?
Yep.
That must have
I was out of school.
sucked.
Yeah, it was. I got a
Ah,
phone call saying that there was a second shift officer killed, and at the time, both my sons were working second shift. So
how long did it take till you got in contact with them to figure out that it wasn't them?
probably within 5 minutes, I called my son. He answered the
Good.
phone, and I asked him who it was and what happened. And then, unfortunately, that had that video go viral showing him getting dragged, and they was trying to do CPR on him. And you know, there was no protest or marches or anything. We don't march or burn things. We honor and try to respect the loss of that life. And then we let the judicial process take the place of those that committed the act. So it's a
Yeah.
very odd way of dealing with things, military or law enforcement. I think the law enforcement community, or the military, most of our loss of life is during a wartime and in a war zone. I mean, of
Mm-hmm.
course, you have when you have so many soldiers, they're going to get in car wrecks or accidents are going to happen, but those things all happen with police too, where when a tragedy happens, the phones are ringing. And I know me and you several times have been at the ER. You had to handle issues where we're just trying to find ourselves and hold things together.
Yeah.
So you have some kind of foundation. And I think in combat, it happens. And then we have a ceremony afterwards at a cathedral or in the field or however we can honor the soldier or Marine or, service member, whatever branch they belong to. We have a way of doing a service for them. And I think with us, like lots of times we're right there,
And work it.
right, and work it and stand through it. But I
Doing the
do
crime
see a
scene.
very close niche between both professions and lifestyles, family matters. And I remember I heard a 4-star general said, I believe in the 4 F's. And no, it ain't the 4 F's.
That's what I'm thinking.
But
What?
he said that the 4 F's, he said, faith, family, friends, and force. He said that's what should be your priorities. If you have faith, some people don't. He said, whatever you believe in, a higher being, your faith should come first. So if you have faith in God, or if you're a Christian, Muslim, a Jew, a Hindu, whatever it is, your faith should probably come first in your life. He said second should be your family, because your family's going to be there for you during, before, and after anything you do. Your family should be your biggest part of your intimate family or any family.
Yeah.
And then your friends, like us, we've known each other from the beginning. We both left law enforcement. Your true friends, I always said, will stay with you. And then, so you have your faith, your family, your friends, and then the force, then whatever you're doing, because whenever you leave, whatever you're doing, we both know. People say within a week, I'll say within days, you're part of the past history.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of our friends that we have mutual friends that have been gone several years, and the department's so young now that we currently worked for that they don't even know who they were. We both have friends that were chief of police and stuff that they never even knew they were chief. It's weird, but life goes on and you got to live each day like it's the fullest. Yeah. So I think live each day for what it's worth.
I think people can take the deaths and stuff and the crap that we saw, at least on the law enforcement side, because I can't speak for the military, obviously, but you can live in that kind of crappy side of it and see life as being crappy all the time, or you can be like, hey, well, actually, I'm still here, so let me go do something with it and go live it up. And I think that's also why if you see cops off duty, it's like 100 miles an hour and nothing, because they're living it to the fullest if they can in that moment.
And how everybody deals with things, you need some kind of resilient program.
Yeah.
Resiliency is important because your outlook, I know you well enough, is when you start running a lot, I know you got a lot on your mind. You like to go work out and you'll take off running. And that's a good outlet though. Different people have to look at ways to have outlets and I think you're
Healthy outlets. Yeah.
right. And that's a good point because
Yeah.
we both have friends that their outlet is alcoholism. They drink themselves, and we both know people in that career field. And I know them in both career fields that have drank themselves to death or are functioning alcoholics, or they have a lot of pain and they get hooked on pain medicine. And it's sad that, their outlet is going to wind up putting them in the grave, and,
Yep.
we have other friends that work out and lift weights and they do jujitsu. One of our friends who's retired, a captain, teaches, classes, and his outlet is teaching our officers to survive on the streets. And he enjoys the fact that he'll hopefully maybe save one of their lives one day.
No, definitely. I mean, I'm sure he's already done that.
Oh, yeah. But that's his outlet, and everybody got to find
Yeah,
their
something.
niche in life and what makes them happy because, time goes by quick. I think we live our lives to our fullest. We have the good times and we enjoy the people we have around us that love us and care about us.
So with all of that being said, what's a moment in your career, be it, either military or police, that that tested your resiliency and then, where it, like, physically, emotionally, or maybe even ethically challenged you?
I could talk about a few things.
Whichever one you wanna bring up, doesn't matter, or none if you want me to
No,
kinda
I
something
could tell
different.
you one of the things I remember when I was a commander, there was two officers that were engaged in illegal activity of um, planting narcotics on people. And, I had some people in my ear saying, this is going to make your precinct look bad. This is going to look bad. And I was like, yeah, but I had to try to maintain my bearing and my integrity. And I knew what they were doing was wrong.
Mm,
And I initiated an investigation. Both officers were relieved of duty. They got put on the news. They were tried. They went through the process. I'm not going to say names, but it took a toll on me because, when you tarnish the badge and you always hear back the blue and stuff, you know, I got a lot of kudos from some people like, "Hey, no matter what, I kept telling people, the people that turned in these two officers were other officers, but they knew it was wrong and they stepped out. And if I would have covered that up or brushed it under the rug, I'd have lost the respect of those officers and myself. It
yeah.
was the police officers that turned them in and got it fixed. Another thing I think during my career that nobody was killed in the line of duty since the 60s. So Golden, I remember the other officer who worked in my squad because I was a sergeant at the time, was en route to back him up. And I think that day was the first time we lost someone in line of duty for many, many years. And I seen him clearing the intersections, rushing to the hospital. I knew it was really bad. And I think I was very numb for a long time after. Still to this day, his family's been devastated by that. And but that was very trying. Because I think we all just didn't know how to deal with it. We haven't had that before. And I think that comes into the fact that when you started the support group at the department,
Oh, the peer support thing?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think the
that
peer
was
support thing, we didn't have that back then, if you remember.
yeah.
And I remember when you came up with that idea and said, hey, we need to start something because I think you noticed, and I even noticed too, but you acted upon it, that we need to do something better for peer support because it doesn't just go away. So that's a hard thing to go through. And
What's something that you think the public doesn't understand about the emotional toll of leadership and crisis and maybe even, humor and how we joke about stuff?
I think that's a good question, a good factor, because I think people don't realize that there's an outlet. And we both watch videos where cops could be making fun of something and they're really not joking, that they're trying to acknowledge it or displace it. And they do that but some of them go and cry by themselves. I've known that for a fact. I know some first time an officer sees a horrible wreck where you see a body mangled and dismaimed, we become numb to it and it's not normal. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be held to a higher standard, but people don't know what we go through and what we deal with on a day by day basis. We deal in law enforcement with other people's problems every day. We're dealing with their problems and we're trying to improve the quality of life for them and their families the best way we can. And we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We have to make
Oh
split
god, yes, I've
decisions.
made so many
Oh yeah,
mistakes.
we all did.
One of the worst ones is stepping in human shit, I think, on one of the calls. That was one of the worst mistakes,
I
but
pulled
that's
up
it.
on a call where a guy was having intercourse with a rotten chicken from
What?
Publix, and the call
Did he
came
know
out.
it was a rotten chicken?
They said he went and took it out of a dumpster. It was a raw chicken, and it was summertime. And he made the
Hmm.
comment that it felt like the real thing. I didn't know if I was charged with defamation of a corpse, of using a corpse because it was a dead chicken. We had to deal with the call. We had to woke up on it. I didn't know what we're supposed to do here. The call came in was, we on calls as cops, we always try to visualize what we're going to.
Oh.
And the call came in that he was having sex with a dead chicken. Well, I just pictured this chicken with feathers and, feet and everything being molested. And when I got there, it was actually like a chicken from the produce section at Kroger. And I think when we interrogated him, like, where'd you get the chicken? And he's like, well, I got out of the dumpster at Bruno's and it was hot, warm and it felt like the real thing. He said, I said, oh, okay.
Mhm.
So it's public lewdness since he was exposed publicly.
Yeah,
So we
makes
we
sense.
we processed him for public lewdness, and
Mm.
and and unfortunately we didn't have like we do today all the mental health stuff.
Yeah.
So we had to get him mentally evaluated for hospital. At the end of calls, we get to talk about things that people don't believe. Like, hey, what did you do today at work? And then we tell them the stories we tell them, and like, yeah, I can't top none of that because we always have some pretty good encounters that people will never see like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
You know, I don't even know if I ever told you that story,
No, I hadn't heard that story. That was a good
but
one.
that was
We
well, used to search words and roaches crawling up your
Oh
arm.
yeah. Ugh.
You remember them days when you were
Yeah,
in the drug unit too?
I don't. Mm-mm.
And you
I
don't
never liked that part. The meth houses with all the. Ugh. No, I can search through dirty stuff, dead stuff, but like when it comes to the bugs crawling all over you, you get out of there.
And you remember how many times we'd go in and dogs would be defecated all over the house,
Yeah, yeah.
and we'd have to walk around landmines.
One of the worst. One of the worst ones is this hooker that would always store everything up in her, but she would especially use it that time of the month. So she would store everything up in her, and it was just like a bloody horrible mess. And those
Oof.
crack pipes are glass, so they break off in
Okay.
them sometimes. Yeah, that's not pleasant whatsoever. But that's not something that usually people do on a day to day. What do you do today? Oh, well, I pulled 14 crack pipes out of this hooker. Although today, now that I'm retired, it is nice not deal with that stuff every day.
Well, like you said, it's just the crazy things we deal with. One of my first big calls when I was in NYPD and I was in the transit subway, it was one of the worst train wrecks on 14th Street. We had a process, I think it was anywhere from 9 to 11 bodies. I was young and we're looking for body parts, and I had military drill that weekend. And I couldn't go, and military I was in the reserves, Marine reserves, and told me if I didn't go, I was going to. I was like, "Do you know what I just told you? I'm processing, and I'm looking at all these dead people, and you're giving me crap about not being able to come to drill." And I was
Mm.
up for almost 2 days straight because we had to go to the morgue and process everything. And I remember that, and I remember a young athlete was playing around with a gun. He got a scholarship to go to college. And I got there, and he said, "Hey, watch this," and he took out the magazine of an automatic, but some automatics will still fire, as you know, one in the chamber, and he pulled the trigger, and it was a 380, and it went through one side of his temple, out the other, and the bullet went in the wall, and he just fell dead, and he did it right in front of his girlfriend. I mean, when I got there, it just bothered me. I remember going home, and I just was very emotional over it and started crying because I just didn't understand what a, you know, sorry loss of life over a little mistake, over a dumb mistake that you would have never thought somebody would joke around doing. And I could go on. But I mean, I think there was a lot of pleasant times too.
Obviously, we've seen both of us at our worst when bad crap happens
Yeah.
on shift and stuff like that. But I definitely could not have gone as many years as I did without the teams and the people that we had working around us. Because God, they made it so much fun. Even the crappy stuff, it was you could joke later and you could talk about it, and then you moved on or you did whatever you had to do. And I mean, the gallows humor, yeah, that got thick, but it was enjoyable.
When we would all get together, and back in the day when Finnegan's was open and people would meet after work, or we'd just
Yeah.
get a location and we went to your house, hang out, and people would go after work and pick a location and try to decompress. And I think that's why when they ask why cops hang around with a lot of cops is I think because we just understand each other and we could relate to what's going on in life. A lot of us back then, we were not making a lot of money. We're living day to day, working part-time jobs, trying to raise our kids. The hours are hard and complex.
Yeah.
It's demanding sometimes, but I had a lot of good times. I was brought up almost Thanksgiving. I remember us always sporting Mojo and getting bikes for the bikes are bust and showing up and with our lights and sirens on and collecting money and going and buying bikes. And I remember a lady being late to pick up her Thanksgiving food when I was at the North Precinct, and I had a couple of my officers all get together, and she was crying. And they went to Kroger, and I get emotional because my heart was heavy. And they bought several boxes of food. They bought a turkey, a ham. They bought enough, food for Christmas. They bought 2 boxes. Said, "Hey, this is enough for a Christmas dinner and a Thanksgiving dinner." And and they didn't do it for the news. They didn't do it for publicity. The lady called the news Thanksgiving and she asked the cops to come by on Thanksgiving, and they did. And the news was there, and there was a thing saying, she wanted to thank these officers for saving her Thanksgiving because she had an old Lincoln break down, and she was 3 or 4 blocks from where she was going to pick up her food, a donated um, food batch that they were giving out. And when she got there, it closed already, and she missed. She had nothing to cook for dinner. But that's the good heart. And those cops weren't making much money, and then they said, "Hey, I think this is the right thing to do. We need to get together and let's chip in." And I was proud of them. And the point I'm bringing up that is that side of the job. You look back and you think a lot of the good things we did for families, and they don't get publicized as much, and I know.
Yeah.
If there's a cop does something wrong or crooked, it's on
Mhm.
every news channel. But when a cop does something like that, lots of times it gets overlooked. And I'm not saying all news stations, some do good, heartfelt stories, but I think that's not, the money stories of, oh God, look, this cop did this. And that became a trend for a while. And I think me and you both talked about this, how it's killed our profession, where a lot of people don't want to go in law enforcement anymore because of the stigmatism that we
Yeah,
got.
the negative connotation. And I think the reason that the bad stuff is publicized so much is because really it is rare. And even with the story that you'd brought up earlier, I don't know if the general public realizes how much cops hate dirty cops or cops that screw stuff up because it makes everybody look freaking bad. It irks me to a degree I can't describe if a cop does something that they're not supposed to be doing that paints, that broad stroke across all of police to make everybody look bad. And it's not. Somebody just screws up in California, well, somebody across the country that's also a cop's going to pay the price. And the positive stuff, that's 99% of the time, that they get a help 99% of the time. And then 1% of the time, it's something horrible. I mean, those stats obviously aren't correct, but
No, no.
something along those lines.
Now, the point you were bringing up earlier about the feel good stories and people don't always hear all those things.
Yeah. And I
I
get it's boring. Like, it's not, that story is boring to the general public or the media, rather, not the general public. Media is bored by that. And I get it.
it's not breaking news.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of great cops over the years, and we've known a lot of good people. I mean, we could have chose other career paths, and I think
Hmm.
people don't realize that this is something that we're brought to, that it's a calling. To me, I always tell people it's really a calling. We both talked about this when we worked at
Yeah.
the academy together, that we would always tell the new cadets that you'll know in 3 to 5 years, is this what you really want to do? Because how many people, and I don't want to take people's sons' names, we even had cops' children come, and they
Hmm.
were Rangers. Oh, that's all I want to do is be a cop, be a cop. And then they get burnt out. Say, "Well, I don't make enough money doing this. I'm going to go find a job, and I'm going
Yeah.
to go to school at night, and I'm going to do what I got to do, answer my calls." But
Hmm.
they get burnt out. And I think when we both left the department that we worked at, it was, at our own choices. We did it because we wanted to do it, and
Hmm.
we left on our own terms and
Yeah.
our own conditions. And we both maintained a lot of friends and stuff like that. And we still love the department we belong to, and we care about a lot of people that still work there.
Yeah.
And it's a
Those guys are still I mean, some of them I don't talk to obviously every day or anything like that, but if some of them that I haven't talked to in 10 years show up at my doorstep, "Hey, I need this." "Okay, yeah, I got you." So I think that's pretty well embedded too.
Well,
They're
it's like I
so
told you,
tight.
my current partner that I work said ran into you and said that you were happy and you looked like you were at peace and everything and leaving. And I joked to him, I said, don't let her fool you. She still has that cop in her,
Yeah.
and it's something that stays with you your whole life.
Yeah.
And that's why they say a lot of cops, when they retire, they get that an adrenaline dump and they die because they don't take care of themselves health wise, or they don't have that constant, stress or pressure of
Mhm.
when you answer a call. And
They don't
um,
find other outlets or other ways to live other than just doing that.
And I always remember, the first few times you ran code and the lights and the sirens are going, and you're like,
Oh,
man, I
yeah.
can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. This is,
Yep.
you're excited and you don't know what's waiting on the end of the call because it's an in progress call. And we both know how many times we've arrived on a call and people would hug us or thank us or tell us how much they appreciated what we do. I always told people, you don't like us till you need us.
Yeah.
Till your kid's in a car wreck on the parkway and we're pulling them out of the car that's about to ignite into flames, or, we save a family's life from a bad situation, a domestic dispute. I could go on, but I think I would say this. If I had anything else to choose in my life and what I could do it over again, I don't think I'd change a thing. Today's a proud day for my family. Actually, my nephew got promoted to detective first grade in NYPD, and proud of him. Being a first grade detective is like a unicorn, so I'm really proud of him. But I'm surrounded with
Yeah.
cops, and even on Sundays we like to have dinners like that and have family over, my kids over and stuff, and talk about things. And it's cool that we always were able to, there's certain, like you or me or whatever, could call and talk about a call that we had, because a lot of people just don't understand it. And,
Yeah.
we could relate to what we were all going through, especially when we were in the drug unit days. I don't know how many doors we hit back in the days during the crack wars, but it was just insane. And we didn't have the drones and the technology that they had this day. Remember, we used to have put recorders in people's socks to to record things and all kinds of crazy things. But I have met some of the best friends of my life in both professions. And that's why I said I wouldn't change anything, because God's really blessed me with a lot of great friendships in both career paths.
So obviously we've talked about some of the grave situations and some of the humorous crap that happens. So how is humor important in maintaining morale? Like especially in like life or death professions, like both of your professions, and especially in law enforcement. How has humor kind of maintained that camaraderie?
I would say not only humor, but I would say, like you said, activities, gatherings, like just going out and hanging out. We used to play midnight softball back in the days, and that was a great outlet. I thought that was fun. They
I
would,
was crap at that game. You guys made me
yeah,
play it, and I tried to tell you guys I was a swimmer. I don't know how to play softball. Like, no, 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 we got Tess. She's good at sport. I was shit.
but you had fun, didn't you?
Had fun, but I don't know how to catch
But
a softball. That's for sure.
you did pretty good. And I,
I'm pretty sure I hit it. I caught a softball with my shin
yeah.
at some point. I'm like, I got it.
But you had a good time out there with your
Oh, yeah.
counterpart, and that's what all it was about having a good time. Everybody thinks cops just go and drink. We did sports lots of times and did that outlet. I was proud to say our department, and I'm bragging on you. Both of us were medal winners in police limbs. I only participated in one year in 2000, but you participated numerous years and got numerous gold medals. And I think our department as a whole was really well at participating in sports. I remember when they used to have the state Olympics, I was on the softball team for the PD, and we won the gold medal many years. I mean, we always medaled. We didn't get gold. We got silver or bronze. We finished in the top 3 in the state. And I think
And those things get competitive. I didn't know when I signed up the first time. I was like, oh, this will be kind of fun.
oh yeah.
And then I saw those Olympic rings tattooed on the Russians, and I was like, ah, shit.
Yeah, they came to play.
No, no,
But
that
when
stuff
you
gets
said
serious.
humor, I think it's always good to keep humor because it keeps things light, and you
Oh
got to
yeah,
be able to do that in our department. Like I remember, back in the day, Sergeant was a short guy, and I used to call him. We joke around, and I'd cut out boxes of leprechauns from the Lucky Charms and put them on his door. And I remember one time, all his squad investigators, when he became the investigative squad sergeant, they put his office in the bathroom, and they actually went into great detail because they hung the pictures on the wall. They just did everything. Another day, they went in his office, and because he was short, they got 2x4s and they put all his furniture on blocks. So when he sat at his desk, it came up to his chin. And he took it in stride because he knew they liked him enough to cut up with him. But it broke the monotonous, like you said. I remember back in the day, one of the sergeants on third shift got mad at his patrolman and said, "If you call in sick, you better give me a stool sample." And he got mad about it. So when he came back to work, he went to the canine range and he had one of the dogs that used the restroom out there and put it on a plate and put a sticky note on a toothpick and said, you
uh,
know,
yeah.
so-and-so stool sample. And he happened to put it at sergeant's desk the day before his off days.
Oh,
The office smelled pretty bad, but okay, you want a stool sample? By God, I'll give you one. And the sergeant took it in stride because he knew he probably shouldn't have said that. Cops will play, like you
yeah.
said. I've seen them move their vehicle. You leave your car running,
Oh,
patrol car
yeah.
running. How many times? And they'd go park it at the Circle C. You'd walk outside like, oh man, where's
Yeah.
my car? And it was just, it's humorous, but you teach them a lesson too. Don't leave your police car unlocked, or don't leave it parked where I could get a hold of
Yeah.
it.
Or the number of cops you see that are chasing their vehicle because they get out of it so quick they leave it in
Mhm.
reverse or leave it in drive.
I
They
got
have to
hit by a
chase
car and
those.
I didn't take mine I left it in drive, jumped out of it because I thought it was on fire, and I
Yeah.
was chasing it down and it hit a crepe myrtle. So yes, that happens.
Yep, yep. I
Um,
had a Ricky once in my car, and they got out to go do a ticket, and I'm sitting in the passenger side seat, and all of a sudden I feel motion sick. I'm like, oh my god, I think I'm gonna puke. What is going on? And then I realized it's because I'm rolling down backwards down midday traffic, and that rookie got it. But yeah, that scared the crap out of me. Just don't forget, just forget it. Put it in park.
I remember a guy running on a call, and I was with Sergeant and I was a patrolman, and he was domestic and he ran to his car, and I got excited and I ran to my car and I went to take off and the engine revved and I was like, shit. And before I let the engine rev down, I threw it in park and I dropped my drive shaft completely right there. Boom.
Oh no!
I heard a big boom. And the Sarge looked at me and just shook his head and said, call a tow truck. And they said I torqued it so bad I just busted the drive shaft out of it. But, rookie mistake and you learn things. And And that's why I learned from some of the good
Kind of like
supervisors I had.
the lights with the old ones when they wouldn't turn on, and you have to hit them with your flashlight
Yes,
to get
well,
them to turn on.
when you get them going, and you're a youngster compared to me. I remember when we had the people we didn't know if they were running for us or didn't know, but we had these beep 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 beep. They were little beacon lights. They didn't have the bright lights yet, and I don't know if they're know I'm trying to stop them or they're running from me. And people would say, "I couldn't see no lights. I couldn't see them." And so
Defendable.
technology was great for us back then.
Yeah.
We always played. You know how you were in a narcotics unit like I was, and
Yeah,
they were.
those games get dangerous, and
Oh yeah,
it's like siblings, it's siblings when you spend enough time with a group of people, and literally all they're doing, I feel like it was 5 minutes, all they did was say, "F you, F you, F you," just mad at each other, screaming it back and forth, and the rest of us are laughing like, "What the come on, guys."
a lot of things happened behind closed doors back in them days where
Yep.
people have settled up their things, but at the end of the day, you hugged it out and you worked
'Cause
together.
you're tight. I mean, that's why you can yell at each other and then be fine with it a minute later.
I was very blessed to have some really good supervision and some legacies that worked for me. Well, I worked for them, I mean, and they taught me good leadership qualities, and I hopefully passed them down. Because I think once you become a leadership, you should guide, mentor, and coach the
Yeah.
people under you. And me and you both experienced people that have done that with us and that haven't.
Mm,
And some were self-serving and very even,
mm,
people get to be self-serving and it's all about them and their career path and what they're doing. And at the end of the day, they don't realize it ain't just about them. It's, your legacy is how you treat people.
yep. You
You know,
have to invest in the stuff that you're never gonna see. You have to I mean, and that means the young cops, the ones that you'll never see in leadership or the ones that will be there when you're long gone. You gotta invest in that kinda stuff, the stuff that you'll never see come back to you. Because if you don't, you're gonna have a crappy department, and I think that's one of the more toxic things that tends to happen in departments is that people so worry about themselves and their own reputation and stuff, and they forget, hey, once I'm a leadership role, I'm supposed to invest in other officers, and that's how we continually grow and we continually, uh, you know, um, change into something better. I mean, I don't know how to help that happen, but the evolution of policing, it's to me what it kind of should be. And it's hard to do, right? Because the people want to get awards and stuff, but you have to do that selfless thing where it's no, 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 this person deserves it. This person did that. And some people in leadership positions find that difficult. And I just wish that it was something that was a little bit more present.
it's funny we talk about humor too. Watching, so when body worn cameras came about and watching some of the videos I was watching here, and with supervision, we would call and laugh, say, "Hey, you got to hear this one," and it would be funny. But I always told the cops too. Back in my day, I kind of wish sometimes I had a body worn camera because I was accused of things that I didn't do, and it was my word against their word, and at least they have a way of proving they didn't do it. And the public don't even realize, we exonerate 99.5, I think, or even higher are unfounded. And very few, far in between, allegations were made against our officers that weren't true. And we were able to finally prove that. And I think that they said they're holding us to a standard. And I said, most cops want to do the right thing. They're
Yeah.
not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. Every profession makes mistakes. Is that ours is more scrutinized. If the clerk at Kroger comes up short, it's not going to go up the news. But if you lose evidence and they can't find it, it's going to be on the news.
But yeah.
Or
I think there's pros and cons with the videos. Though. I think that they take it too far sometimes because I know there's been times when officers
agree
jumped
with
out of
that.
cars and this one guy almost got scalped because he ran underneath the staircase and he peeled his skin back on his head chasing somebody. And they wrote him up because he didn't turn on his camera. And when he got out of there really freaking quick. And so he couldn't turn it on. And then on the flip side, I remember getting into a fight with some guy and then he jumped out of a window. And then he, was like, oh, you threw me out the window. I didn't, he doesn't remember because he fell head first to a story below. But I would have loved a body worn camera then. So I think there's pros and cons to it.
I agree with that. And there's a lot of things that the camera don't catch. We've had officers jump out of a car and go into a foot per se and couldn't catch, or the body worn camera and they threw it off, but the magnets didn't stick good and
Mm-hmm.
you didn't get to see the whole change. So I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I think there's always pros and cons to everything. And the technology and the innovation of policing has changed so much over the decades. The 3 decades I've been in, it's been, crazy. I mean, I remember back in the day in NYPD, they would carry slappers in a little pocket. They made a pocket for a slapper. And that's where they changed that channel from HBO to Showtime when you weren't listening.
How's that when that metal ball, that's the metal ball that's in the
Little metal,
leather
the
thing,
leather,
handle.
it had a little handle on it. And they had the little mini nightsticks like the bobbies would carry in England and, for close contact. That's why I say we changed now with tasers and mace
Yeah.
and, less than lethal weapons.
Taser, I mean, now that a lot of people have them, they seem like they work pretty good. I'll say my back never felt better after I was hit by a taser, though. I was like, "Oh my god, it hurt like hell for that time span." But geez, afterwards, I was like, "I feel like I can run a marathon. I'm good."
I could tell you this, I'd rather take a hit from a taser than mace any day. I
Dang.
did not like mace.
No, I didn't like it at all. I would take a taser 10 times over freaking OC spray.
It was always funny because I know my sons were in the academy and they were cadets. My one son asked me, Dad, I just don't understand this whole concept of you got to know what it feels like. So they got to tase you. So when you tase somebody, you know what you're putting them through, and you got to get sprayed with mace. He goes, are they going to shoot me too? So I know what it's like if somebody pulls a gun on me and have to use deadly force. And I just laughed because he's like, they tase us and they mace us, but they don't shoot us. I get the gist. You don't have to tase me to know it's going to hurt. I believe you. I'd laugh. I was like, no, they just want to make sure you know that
Yeah.
when you do that to somebody, the effects it's going to have on them. I mean, you've both seen, people get sprayed and wipe it out of their eyes and go,
Oh,
is that
yeah.
all you got?
That's a bad feeling.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh,
I've seen
crap."
one videotape when officers where a guy in a hotel is close quarters, tased him and the guy and maced him and he's licked the mace and said, is that all you got? And pulled the cords out of him,
Delicious.
wrapped the cords up and pulled the friggin'
Mm.
taser out of his hand. He goes, you're going to have to bring more than that. And he was like, Jesus, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You don't shoot the guy. I mean,
Yeah.
you're trying to back. People don't realize that. We don't want to just pull out a gun and shoot him. Could he be justified if the guy came after him and tried to disarm him, or he's that violent? But people think automatically we're gonna try to shoot somebody. And I said, nah, we don't. We don't just automatically want to shoot
No.
anybody.
I mean, the mental toll that is on the other side of it, even if the person completely deserves it, it is still like in your head. You're like, okay, no, that had to be done because I saved a life or because I saved my own life, whatever. But it's still a toll because it's still a life that you took, or. I mean,
Good point, and that's right. I'm
and
glad you brought
paperwork
that
and
up. A lot of people don't
investigations.
realize, even a justified shooting. I've never seen a cop. How many times we talk to a cop and we go, I had to do what I had to do. And I hate that I had to do it.
Hmm.
They don't feel good about it. They're emotional, and people think that they just go to sleep at night. They especially if they take a life. If they injured somebody shooting them, it's bad enough. But knowing that somebody is deceased from an encounter, I don't know any officer that would think. I was involved in one shooting and the person lived though, but it still bothered me and I didn't want to have to do it. But it was a life situation and
And it's in like, less than a second
it's
sometimes.
instantaneously, yeah. And we make some decisions that are tough at times. But I think we both wouldn't regret anything we've ever done in our law
No,
enforcement careers because it makes us who we
no.
are.
Yeah. It was all backed by trying to do the right thing or making right decisions. So, has humor ever saved you emotionally or mentally during particularly brutal stretches or a brutal event?
Humor,
Yeah.
I would say friendship and peer support was more important back when I worked 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. And when I was a cop in New York City in the transit, it was really cool. We would meet afterwards and decompress because 8 to 4 was horrible. 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. You would
Oh,
have no
yeah.
lifestyle. So your peers were it, and we worked at Times Square, 428. So we parked our car in Queens by the Midtown Tunnel, and we would meet there. And everybody would just we'd go get a 6-pack or something and just decompress, sit there, and we watch all the people at 5, 6 a.m. starting to go into the city, and we cheers them going into the Midtown Tunnel, and we were out in a pretty secluded area by the railroad tracks, and we were right looking because it's open by the tunnel. There's not a lot of houses right there. It's very loud, and I remember precinct cops would be like, "Would you stop shooting at the rats?" And the shots fired called, and we're like, "We ain't shooting at no rats," and stuff. But I just remember us hanging out and just talking about our shifts and what did they see, and we
Hmm.
would go to 4, 2, and 8, spread throughout the whole city, and ride the train and then at night, we get to tell, hey, where'd you go? Hey, I had from here to Harlem. I had from here into Brooklyn. I had from Manhattan into Queens. It would go into all the boroughs because the train system went into all, 4 out of the 5 boroughs. Staten Island, of course, is an island on its own. But, I remember, with 9/11, I grew up around the Twin Towers and go there at night at 3 a.m. and it's just quiet. And you practice twirling a nightstick and when it dropped, you would hear it echo throughout the streets. I remember just things like that. I think the camaraderie And it includes humorous, joking around, cutting up, but I think the camaraderie was the most important thing during stressful times. If I had a
Yeah.
hard day or a hard arrest, that I had other cops and friends to lean on. Because family just doesn't understand all the time, and it's hard for them to comprehend. But your other cops and friends, hey, because they know they had a day like that.
Mm.
They remember when, hey, I remember I had a day like this. He's going through a bad day, so they helped you through it, or they would cut up with you, joke around with you. You know, we do locker room tricks because in New York, you didn't, you changed when you got in. You didn't wear a uniform to work. We didn't have take home cars. And there'd be a lot of locker room camaraderie and jokes, and we'd have pictures.
That's how New York rolled, huh?
Yeah.
Locker room camaraderie? I don't know what that is, but I don't think I want to be a part of
No,
that.
it ain't that crazy. You changing and you're cutting up and talking
Yeah.
about things before and after shift. You get in, you change, and you don't, you go, a lot of people go to the bar, have a drink, or like I said, get a six pack and
Yeah.
meet up, go.
So, what's a personal sacrifice that you've made that most people wouldn't see or wouldn't know that you've made in both your career choices, I guess, or either whichever one, or maybe that people don't know that's going to cost them if they choose to go into that career?
Well, personal sacrifices, I would say one of the biggest ones is, and it's a good, great question because it's both careers, is the times you miss with your family that you never get back. And those sacrifices were, I was drilling on weekends and my off days would be Thursday, Friday during the week. And then I'd have to change my off days to Saturday, Sunday sometimes because we were short. So I'd work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Go back to working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The night times, I had to work part-time jobs, raising 3 kids. It was expensive, so my wife had to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom. And how many birthdays we've missed. Holidays that we worked on Christmas Eves. I remember Christmas Eve in New York City one night, and the snow was just coming down. And being of the Catholic faith, I found a church, and I went in there and I heard them singing, and the choir was singing Christmas songs, and it was just pretty cool. It made me just feel at that time. I was like, it's okay, it's okay. I think the sacrifices you make is time that you'll never get back away from your friends and your families and special occasions. So sacrifices with the military and the police ran together. I worked at second shift most of my career until I made, of course, my last 15 years, I was in command staff. But when I wasn't, I was in second shift. So most of my kids were asleep when I got home. And
Mm-hmm.
no, and the Christmases and the holidays that we all worked, when we had to come in on New Year's and you had a choice of working a part-time job at one of the Hilton downtown and making $50 an hour that you
Yeah.
could provide
The
or,
Christmas gifts.
pay back the Christmas gifts because, you went into debt. I think between the part-time jobs, the working the weekends, the working nights, you sacrifice a lot. And I think that's why the cops have such a high divorce rate and they have
Yeah.
a lot of alcoholism and stuff because it takes a toll on them. The hours, the stress, the depression, the things they see.
Well,
And
all that being said, with the price of it, then I think, knowing you would still 100% choose it 100% of the time. But why?
I think because like you, it's in our blood. We would do it. I mean, single mom working like you did, you could have, there's a lot of things that you did and sacrificed and tried to make both ends meet with your daughter and your family because you loved it. And I personally know for a fact that you would be still a police officer today if it wasn't for your daughter. So talk about sacrifices. I know you sacrificed your law enforcement career that you love dearly to get a different job to provide. And it goes back to those 4 F's in the beginning of this conversation. You put your family over force. And I think I respect you for that because I know at the end of the day, through and through, you're a cop. I mean, if I cut you now, you'd bleed blue. And that's just your thing. And I feel the same way too. There ain't many like us that do this profession because we love it. Somebody asked me and you when we were in the academy on the staff, why do you want to be a cop? Because I want to shoot somebody. And we would look at him like, well, we ain't hiring that guy. It's because
Red flag.
we want to hear, hey, I want to protect and serve out my community I live in. I want to improve the quality of life. I want to help people. I want to make it better. Do we want to chase the bad guys? Yeah, that's part of the fun part. It's a cat and mouse game. We want to catch the bad guy. That's why we both worked in the drug unit. It's a cat and mouse game. But at the end of the day, we want to help people. We want to improve the quality of life of the citizens in our community. We want to better our country. We love our families. But, I was fortunate that I had the support to raise my kids where I could stay in this career path, but I almost had to leave it too because it gets hectic and it gets hard, but I pushed through it. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. Yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely choose both career paths. I'm always proud to say I was a former United States Marine, and I'm currently in the United States Army Guard, and I retired from the PD, one of the best PDs in the country, and I made some of the best friends in my life, and I feel blessed to have the friendships I made over the years. I had the experiences I had, that I stayed healthy. I think is more important the advice I'd give to all those military and law enforcement personnel out there, male, female, I don't care what race, religion, color, creed you are, spend each day enjoying it because it goes by fast. Cherish the friendships you'll make, live your life to its fullest, and do what you want to do. Set goals and plan your career path. Do what you want to do. Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and do different things and enjoy the excitement. And because it's going to go in the blink of an eye, before you know it, you're talking about the old guys or the old gals, and you look in the mirror and you're that one, and you're like, oh crap. And, be the man in the mirror. Read that poem. There's 2 poems I always liked reading about, and the man in the mirror is one of them. Can you look in the mirror? And I think me and you both could look in the mirror and know we did what we had to do in our jobs at the PD and in the military. What you do between the day you were born and the day you're going to die, the dash is what really will define what kind of person you are in life. So enjoy your life to your fullest. Cherish your friends, quality and quantity. You can have a quantity of friends. A lot of people acquaintances, but the quality of the friendships. Thank you for allowing me to answer some of these questions. And I hope I wasn't monotone, but I think we're going to go celebrate one of our friends' retirement. We're going to have a good time. And I think we both have been blessed to surround the people we've had in our friend circle, and get yourself a good circle like we had. And I encourage people to do that. And you're never alone. You could always reach out to somebody. Don't ever feel like you're alone, because both of those career paths have very high suicide rates. And that's because nobody was there to talk to them or just to maybe talk them. And I will compliment you once again on starting the peer support group in our department, because I think that it was very beneficial and it's taken off, and you led the charge on it, and I appreciate you doing that for our department.
Okay, stop with the compliments. You're killing me, Smalls.
No, it's true.
It was a team effort. There was a whole bunch of people helping, well, on the officer and sergeant level. First off, I just want to say it took me a minute to catch on Man in the Mirror, because I was so singing Michael Jackson in my head when you said Man in the Mirror. So it took me a minute.
I'm looking at the man in the mirror.
Oh, not at all. How does that relate? Also, thank you for coming on. And maybe I'll have you on again sometime, maybe with a couple others.
That's it. I don't play no games. I quit school because of recess. I don't play.